Okay guys, welcome once again to SIP-COMSYS. It's either you want to see something that will make you high or low. It's only up to you, man. So welcome to SIP computer system, right? All right, today I'm going to teach you how to install domain controller on server 2022, right? Okay, so let's get down. Okay, so I have my VMware workstation here, so I'm going to open that up. Okay, so as you can see, I have my servers created here, right? If you don't know how to install the server operating system, I have the video there so you can follow up. Okay, if you don't know how to install the VM workstation as well, I have the video up there. All right, so let me just power up my server. Okay, so I need to log in, so I have to click on this button. Okay, all right, so as you can see, this is my server environment. Okay, this is what I'm going to use to install my domain controller, right? Okay, so click on start server manager. Now by default, the server manager is supposed to pop up for you when you turn on your server, but I actually disable that. Okay, if you want to do that, just I have it in my previous video as well. Okay, you can check it out. All right, so here when you click on local, so you can see it's still refreshing. Okay, all right, I think it's still refreshing. Let's see. Okay, good. So you can see I have the server name, right? And then you can see here I have my Ethernet. Now before you can install domain controller, you need to assign an IP to your server. Okay, now let's click here on the Ethernet 0. Okay, so this is my Ethernet 0. So when I right click and then go for properties, now let's look at this. You see we have IPv6 and then what, IPv4. So now in terms of technologically, when it comes to TCP/IP, okay, you see we have version 4 and then version 6. So whichever IP you want to use for your domain, so you can use that. But this I'm going to use IP version 4, so I'm going to disable the version 6. So I'm going to assign IP. So I'll highlight that and go for properties. So here you can see it's what, obtain an IP address automatically. If I have a DHCP, it's going to obtain an IP. Here, this is a server, so you don't allow server to obtain an IP address automatically. You need to statically assign IP address. So you're going for use the following IP. So here you provide your subnet, right? The network you're on. So to use dot 4.250. okay, this is my subnet and my IP address I'm going to use on this very subnet. So I don't have a router here, so I'll just now this is my very first domain controller I'm installing, so I have to assign the same IP address to the server, right? So close, then close. So now let me refresh my server manager. Okay, so now you can see it has actually shown the IP, right? So if I'm going to install my domain, right, what I'll go to the dashboard and then go to add roles and features. So either I click here, I'll have the same thing, or I can go to manage, and then you can see here we have add roles and features. So you can see here I have the same dialog box. So I'll go for next, and then next. Okay, so you can see here I have all the roles. So I'm going to click on Active Directory Domain Service. So add the features that you want to add on. Next. Now you have to tick this box, that is if it requires the server to restart, to automatically restart the server. Okay, so I'll go for install. So we wait for the installation to finish, then we'll look at what to do next. Okay, so as you can see, my installation is complete. So now you can see here, promote this server towards domain controller. So if should in case you forgot and then you close this dialog box, you can still come to this flag here. There's a flag here showing you what a notification. So when you click here, you can see here you have what post deployment guide. So you can see here, promote this server to domain controller. So when you click on it, to show this dialog box. So whichever way you have this dialog box here. Now this is my very first domain controller I'm installing, so I'm going for add new forest. Okay, this is the very first one I'm installing. So here I'm going to put my domain name here, okay, which is going to be SIP-COMSYS. Okay, that's I'm going to put here, so .com. So this is my domain, so I'll go for next. Now let's see, select functional level for the new forest and then the root domain. Now you can see this is set to server 2016, right? Now it's advisable, okay, to set it to the lowest. Okay, the reason why this is, let's say you want to merge two companies which are of two different domain names. So let's say we have this, my domain now is SIP-COMSYS.com, and I have another company, let's say friends.com. okay, if I want to merge the two, I have to check the functional level. So if let's say I'm using server 2022, so my functional level now is Windows Server 2016. So let's say the other company is using server 2008, okay, and mine is server 2016. This is not going to work. I cannot merge the two domains because of what? The functional level, one is higher than the other. And mind you, when we are using a lower version of the server like 2008, you can't get the functional level of 2016 in there. Okay, that is what you have to note. So it's best when you are using a higher server, you set it towards the lower forest functional level. Okay, now the same applies towards the domain functional level. You set it towards the lowest, so that anytime you meet a lower server like server 2008, you meet a server like 2008 out to 2012, then you can actually merge those two domain environment. Okay, that's one advice. Okay, now you can see here specified domain controller. Okay, now we have domain name system DNS. Yes, I'm going to install my DNS on this particular server. Okay, so you can see my global catalog is graded out because this is the very first domain controller I'm installing, so I have to, this will be ticked and will be graded out. So you can see, type in the directory service restore mode. That is if you want to restore the Active Directory. Yeah, you have to provide a password, so you need to, which is different from your admin password, your administrative password. It should be different from your admin password, but this is a practical environment, so I can actually use the same password, but it's not advisable. You have to be what different from what your administrator's password. So I normally use restore spell in the opposite way. Okay, so don't mind me. Alright, so you can see once I've typed in the password, now my next button is activated, so I'm going for next. Okay, so you can see delegation of DNS server cannot be created. Yes, because this is the only DNS server I have, and this is where I'm going to install my first domain controller, so I'll just going for next. Okay, so when this pop up, that's the NetBIOS name, so you're going for next. Alright, so it's just showing you the location where the Active Directory database will be installed, the log files will be installed here, and then we have the sysbo folder will be installed here, right? Okay, so I'm going for next. Okay, let me go back to the previous. If you don't want them to be installed at the drive C, then you need to browse and then specify the drive that you want to allocate for your Active Directory database to be in. Okay, so if you don't want that, you can redirect them to a different location that you want. Okay, so you're going for next. Alright, so this will give me the summary of my configuration, okay, that I have just gone through. And then when I click on view scripts, right, so this is a script that it has generated for me based on the configuration that I've done. So I can actually go to file and then go to save as. Okay, so if I want to save this script and use it later, I can do that. So you can see I've done this previously, so I can click on this and then replace the file. Yes, so already as it, yes, I want to replace the file. Okay, because I want to use it later, so I'll close this. Now the next thing I'm going for next. So next is going to actually examine my system and then see if I can install my Active Directory here. So you can see here all prerequisites check passed successfully. So click on install to begin. So that means I have actually passed what is needed for my Active Directory to be installed. Okay, these are just some few warnings. Okay, so this I can go in for install. So this is going to install my Active Directory for me. Okay, so this is going to take a little bit of time, so I'll pause the video and come back to it when it's done. Okay, I think I don't need to pause the video. I think we can just see how it's going to do this, and then I think to restart automatically. So as you can see, DNS is being installed. Nice. So this is going to restart automatically. Okay, so as you can see, it's applying what my settings, right? The restart will take a bit little time because of the Active Directory install. It's going to load all the policies and the profile and all the configurations. Okay, so as you can see, my server is ready. So let me try and log in. Okay, so my server is up, so I click on start and then click on administrative tools. So you can see that I have my Active Directory users and computers. So when I click here, so now you can see I have my domain installed. Okay, you can see users, the only user I have is the admin, right? So if I should click on start administrative tools and I go to DNS, so you can see I have my DNS here installed and then configured. So you can see here I have in my DNS record I only have this server there, right? So this is how to install your Active Directory in server 2022. Okay, all right, so thank you for watching the video, and I'll be coming up with this series. I'll be continuing the series. Okay, I'm not going to end here. I'm going to show you how to create user, how to install DHCP and the rest. Okay, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, right? You can share. Okay, thank you so much for watching my video.